Hi and welcome to Stitch in Sprinkles. So today I'm going to show you how I made this really cute needle felted pink pony. This was inspired by the trendy song at the moment, Pink Pony Club, by Chappell Roan, I think. This is really simple to make and I'm going to show you how I did it. Okay, so to make this, I've used some core wool. I've got my needle felting mat. I've got some light pink carded wool. And then I've got a bit of the dark pink carded wool. I've got my needles. I've got my 36 and my 38. I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell the difference. The 36 is slightly thicker and this is a coarser needle. Whereas the 38 is what you use for sort of the finishing touches and is much finer. See if you can, if I hold them like that, if you can, you might be able to slightly tell the difference. It's a bit hard to catch on camera. I've also got a little pair of scissors. I've got my little mini scale. You don't need one of these, but if you want to measure your wool out to the same weight as mine, then you can, because I will tell you the weight of the core wool as I use it. I've got some little eyes. I've got a pipe cleaner, just one. I've got these curls that I've made from the carded wool in the two pinks that I'm using. Obviously you could use white or something if you want. These are really simple to make, and I'm going to show you how to curl your needle felting wool. For this, all you're going to need is either, I just use like skewers, but you can also use lollipop sticks, or you could use a pen or a pencil or a knitting needle, anything that is thin and round basically. You're also going to need some warm tap water to do this and some washing up liquid. Okay, so I'm going to start by showing you how I made these curls. Because then they've got time to dry while we are making our pony or the body for it. So I've just got some warm tap water here. I've got a piece of the felting wool, and I've got my skewer and my washing up liquid. So all I'm going to do is start by trying to thin this out a bit in a nice long thin, so a bit like that. It doesn't have to be even, and then we're just going to pop it in the warm water, pull it out, just press it, and then you're going to continue to try and thin this out. You want to try and get it as even as you can, and then you're going to think about the thickness that you want your curls to be. Don't over pull it, otherwise you're going to snap it. Well, not snap it, but make it break, so you'll end up with shorter curls. If you need to re-wet it down, you can just dunk your fingers in. Just work your way along, gently pulling it as you go. And then once you're happy, if you need to re-wet any parts, then just dunk your fingers in and dab this round. Then we're going to start by twisting your wool in your fingers like this as you go down. Grab your skewer and then wrap that round, twisting as you go. Just try and ease out that bump that I've got there. When you get to the end, just finish wrapping that round, and there you go. You can see that that's all wrapped around nicely. Then I'm just going to grab a bit of the fairy or the washing up liquid in my fingers, rub it. And then all I'm going to do is just dab that round the curls. And then we're just going to set this off to the side to dry for a couple of hours. So I'm going to grab my needle felting mat, scales, and some of my core wool. I'm just going to break off some of this. Now, when I made this one, for this body part, it was 5 grams that I used. So, okay. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but that is, oops. That is saying 5 grams. So now I've got my core wool. I'm just going to roll this into a sausage shape. You want to try and keep it fairly firm. And then grab your 36 needle and just begin felting this. Obviously mind your fingers as you go. So you just keep this felting process, pushing it in, firming it up, and then felting it all the way round until it becomes nice and firm. When I say firm, you want it to have a little bit of squish to it, but not as squishy as this. You don't want it really soft. You want it to have something to it. By the way, I'm no expert at needle felting. I am just self-taught, and all I'm doing is just sharing with you as I go what I'm making. So apologies if I'm not using the correct terms and things like that. You could use a multi-needle tool now if you've got one and you want to. I don't actually know where mine is at the moment. Okay, so there we have it. I have felted my core wool for the body into a sausage shape. It's quite firm, but it has still got a bit of squidge to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around this, and then I'm going to pop in the notes below a link for the pattern in case anybody wants to check their size against the one that I've made. So now I'm going to pop this sausage off to one side, grab my scales again and some more core wool, and this time I want 2 grams for the head. There's 2.5 there, that will be fine. So I've got my 2.5 grams of core wool. As before, I'm going to roll it into a sausage, but a thinner sort of sausage. And I want to leave the end sort of unfelted within reason, because that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to felt that in to the body to get it to attach. Doesn't matter if it thins out a bit at the top, because we are going to bend this in a bit, and the nose part is thinner than the neck anyway. So once you've felted it and it's starting to resemble a sausage shape, but it's still quite soft and squidgy, You're then going to decide where you want the bend of your head, which for me is about there. So then if you hold it like that and then you start to felt that round, so it's going to start to take and hold that shape. Remember to turn over and do the other side. Just going to start to define the head a bit, bringing that down to a thinner point at the front. Okay, so now you can see that this is starting to take its shape of the head, with this being the nose, and then I've just felted it more here to give it a sort of bit of a soft triangle shape. And then this bit's open because we're going to attach that on. So we'll find a bit in the middle, and then we'll felt this on in position to where we want it to the body. But before we do that, we're just going to build up his head or her head a little bit more. So I've just grabbed a little bit more core wool. You don't need, in fact, you're not going to need that much. Roll this up in your fingers. And then we're just going to attach this to the top of the head here to build it up, to give it, it's almost like its forehead shape. This is a little bit fiddly, so just be careful of your fingers here. So you're just filling in that bit where it sort of went rounded at the top before. We're now making the neck straight, and as I say, we're building up the forehead here. Okay, so once you're happy, you've got a bit of the head built up and you've got the nose, then we can start attaching this. You can always work on this more once it's on. You just want to get the basic sort of shape, really. Then we're going to use our fingers to spread that out so it's flat, and then we're going to decide what you want as the front and back. I'm going to have this end as my front, so position that on the body at the angle you want, and then begin felting this on to the body. When you're going around, I've gone into the actual neck and put my needle in to felt the middle parts of this into the body as well. Once you're happy, that's fairly secure on there. Don't worry too much about the shape, because we can build out the front of the body as we go along. I'm just using my finger to press the head down a little bit more into the body so that I can just secure it a little bit more. Right, so now we've got our basic body shape for our horse. Then I'm going to grab the pipe cleaner. I'm just going to fold this in half. And then cut that. This is going to be our 2 legs or our 4 legs. Next up, we're going to do our legs. We're going to grab our dowel, and then we're gonna sort of follow that line down from the neck. Push your dowel through. Watch as it goes through. Look at it from sort of all angles so that it looks, are you happy it looks straight and even? Give that a move round, then go to the other side. Make sure you follow through there. Again, give that a move round. Once you're happy that you've got a decent hole, grab your pipe cleaner and just poke it through. There you go. And then once that's through, find the sort of middle point. And bend your legs down. There you've got your front two legs, and then at the back, I want these about the same sort of height, but positioned closer to the back. I'm going to do the same. Push the dowel through. Look at it, oops, from the back. Make sure it looks even. Give that a real good twizzle. Then from the other side. Same again. Grab your pipe cleaner. There we go. Pull it through and do the same again. Find your back, your middle point for the back legs. Don't worry if they're not straight or anything yet, we'll work on that. So now you've got your legs through, we're going to grab some more core wool. I'm going to start by adding a ball of it on the top because we're going to start building the shape of the legs. So we'll put, I've got a piece there, I've just sort of made that into a rough round shape, and then grab your needle and put this over the top. And then as you come down, we're going to wrap it. We'll bring that down, and then we're going to start wrapping the excess round the pipe cleaner and into the body. Don't go too mad with the felting at the moment because we're going to shape our legs before we firm up the wool too much. Grab a bit more, wrap that round the leg and just felt as you go. Got any little bits in your wool, your core wool, just pull them out. Oops. Need to make myself a new mat. This one's got a bit of a dip, which makes life a little bit tricky. We're just going to felt some more to cover the pipe cleaner. Sometimes with the legs, you might find it easier to grab a small block and put that in between the legs. then just give that all of a bit of a felt. It's looking a little bit thin there, so I'm just going to grab another little bit. To cover. If you're happy that's covered, don't worry too much about whether it looks even or anything yet. We're just going to go round and do the other legs too. The back legs next, same process. Trying to work to get this sort of shape and build that up and cover the pipe cleaner. The one thing I didn't say before is be mindful when you're covering the pipe cleaners that there is a wire running through this, so you don't want to catch your needle on that, because if you hit it too hard, it's gonna break. Once you've loosely covered all of your pipe cleaner legs, next, these don't have straight up and down legs. As you can see, the back legs sort of go out and then come back in, and the front legs do the opposite. So they both sort of come back in the middle. So now I'm going to try and shape my legs. Work out where you want your bend for their knee. So that's more looking like the shape that we want. If you want that back a bit more, then push it back, and say front a bit more, you can do that. Then I'm going to turn round and I'm going to get the other leg about the same sort of point. Once you're happy with your shape, then we're going to start felting this in more so that it holds them. I mean, they are still going to bend a bit. You are going to need to keep adjusting them as you go, but we're going to felt this in to try and keep more of this shape. You've got it. You've got your basic horse shape now out of your core wall, and it will stand up. So you could go straight on to covering it in the light pink if you want. First of all, I am just going to build up these bits more like this, if you can see those. And start trying to shape the tops of the legs, because they're a bit thicker at the top than the bottom. The bottoms of these I will leave, but if I can get this shape more here and here, then I will with the core wool. Then it will be time to move on to covering it in your light pink carded wool. So to build up these, I've just got some more core wool, and I'm just going to pull off bits and sort of get it into a rough round ball, and then position it sort of where I want it to start with the rounded edge, and then go round that first and try and form the shape. Push the bits from the outside of the core wool sort of in. Just use your needle from the outside and work it up to create that sort of curve inwards. If you want, you can just use your needle to go into the body around the outside, just to help create that definition. And I've already done the other side, so I'm just, so this one I can see, that one curves in quite nicely. This one I need to curve it in some more, but I think I'm also going to need to add a little bit more bulk to here. Actually, now I've worked those in, that doesn't look like it will need any extra. It's got the roundness that I want, so onto the back. Then just go around trying to create that bit of definition around the outside. Right, there you go. So now I've finished padding out the extra bits, building up the tops of the legs. I'm just going to build this up a little bit more because the chest of the horse always comes out a little bit prouder. Okay, so there we go. I've built up his front part just to make him a little bit more proud. Just tweaked his neck slightly, built up the tops of the legs. You can always add more to this with your carded wool, the coloured wool. That's not a problem. I try and do as much as I can with the core wool because this is basically cheaper. And if you can get away with using less of your coloured wools, that's great. Okay, so now we're going to get some of our pink wool, or our light pink wool, and we're just going to sort of spread that out thinly-ish and then place it over our pony and start to make our pony pink. I'm still using my 36 needle at the moment just to secure this into place, but you are going to want your 38 to hand because this will just give a smoother finish. And we're just going to keep adding bits to our pony to make it pink. Once you've laid your bit over your leg, you want to go round and just follow that shape that we created for the legs. Just make the indentation through the pink to give that definition. Okay, so my pony is all covered in the pink wool, and this there's no white bits or anything shown, but as you can see it's a bit fluffy still and it's not as attached as well as it could be. So I'm now going to switch from my 36 needle to my 38 and I'm going to go over this, making sure, getting rid of all the fluffy bits and making sure that the carded pink wool is attached properly to my core wool. I'm also going to have a look, and if I think any bits like this at the top need a little bit added, then I'll just grab a little bit more of my pink like this, and then I'm just going to add these in to build it up to get the shape that I want. You might want to, I'm quite happy with this, but you might also want to pay attention to the bum area. Sometimes that needs a little bit of building up or shaping. I'm also going to now put in the curve that a horse has in their back and start to give this sort of shape that this one has. And if you want to give it a bit more, because they tend to be bigger in their rib cage here than they do at the back, if you want to give that a little bit of shaping too, now's the time that we're going to go around and do all of those finishing touches. By using the finer needle as well, you won't get these great big holes that you get from using the 36. So this will just get rid of those for you and give you a much nicer finish. Find by working my needle round like this, it tends to help give you the curved shape that we want. Now you can see as I'm firming this up how much the padded fluffiness of it has gone down with the extra needling to secure that into place. Okay, so once you've fully covered your pony and pinked it up, next on it's to give it the finishing touches. So we're going to make some ears next. To do this, you want to grab some of your light pink wool. I can't weigh this because actually the amount that we're using is so small that it doesn't weigh anything. You just want to sort of try and get that into a rough triangle-y shape and grab your needle and start felting this together. You're not going to felt down the bottom because this is the part that we're going to use to place it on your horse and felt that in. Carefully peel that off your mat, turn it over. I'm going to need a little bit more than that actually. So let's put that, add that in. So when I say a triangle shape, we want a bit of a rounded top. We don't want that too pointy. Just go over that, felting it, oops, to make it nice and even. Right, once you're happy with the shape, I've drawn a rough template for the size that I want. I'm going to link this to the notes below. And then you just, so that needs to come in a little bit more. And the reason I've done a template is so that we end up with two ears about the same sort of size. And as you can see, the bottom part I've just left raw because what we're going to do with that is when we attach that, we're going to use that to felt into the neck to blend the ear in. Remembering to work both sides of it. Right, once you're happy, we're then going to get a bit of our dark pink. You don't need much at all of this. Just try and roll it between your fingers. And then we're gonna carefully place this on here and try and create a bit of a triangle-y shape in there. So you might want to start from where you want the top part of it to be and felt down, and then I like to just sort of pull it out. Just maneuver the wool to create the shape that you want. And attach it to the light pink. When you've done that, that's probably going to make it spread a bit more. So again, just check the size, and then we'll go round the outside again, just pushing it, and the light pink, just to push it back into the size and shape that we want. If you turn it over and you see that some of the pink has come through, you can just sort of work your light pink over the top of that to cover it up. Or you can always just grab another little bit of your light pink and cover that. And then once you've finished that ear and you're happy with it, you need to make a second one, which I've already done. Make sure that they are both the same sort of size and length. Then we're gonna push our mat out of the way for a minute and grab your pony. And you want to take your ears and sort of hold them like, or pinch them together and decide where you want them placed. Then hold that there, grab your other one, do the same and hold that in place. Oops, it's a bit fiddly. Once you're happy with the placing of those, then we are going to drop one of the ears and just hold that there, grab our needle and secure that on into place. And then once that's attached now, so then you can just come round to the back and then you can just work the excess wool that's hanging over into your design, and that's just going to make sure that it's really nicely attached. Go around it, tweak it as necessary, and if you need to go into the ear and push it into the head to attach it a bit better, and from the back it might just help to make it stand up a bit better. So then you've got one on, we're going to do the same with the other one, and a little bit of a gap between them, so I'm just going to pull them apart a bit and then just tweak. Use your needle to go around the outside just to refine them and position. There you go, and now your ears are attached. Next up, you want to work out where you want your eyes, and just sort of use your needle to create an indentation in your wool, and then I'm just going to work that a little bit to create a little bit of a bigger circle. Once you're happy with those, next up we're going to start putting in the mouth. Now I tend to prefer, so you can see where the rounded part of the face and the nose starts, so it tends to come further down, so I'd say about 3/4 of the way down the nose. And then we're just going to slowly, you might want to rest it on your mat, work your way along. You might want to use your bigger needle as well, or your coarser needle. This is a 36. Work your way along to really create that jawline definition. Now I'm just going along with a needle and creating a indentation for the jaw, but you can always, if you've got some like embroidery thread or something like that, you could use that to stitch on a mouth. When you're going around the corner of the mouth, you might need to just lift it up to work your way around the corner. So you might want to go over that a couple of times just to really define that. And then once you're happy with your jawline, we're then going to place our nostrils, which I think one's going to go about there, and one about there, and then you just sort of, they have quite big nostrils. And then I'm just pulling that up to, you might even want to use your owl and push that in. To sort of create the shape. then we just do a little bit of a I'm just pushing in my needle and pulling it up just to lift the nostrils a bit. Give them almost a bit of that teardroppy sort of shape that they have. If you need to pinch the nose together to give it a bit more of a triangle and move the wall to where you want it, you can. But then again, just tweak your eyes to make sure you're still happy with the positioning of those. Once you've got that, we're then going to grab our owl and you're going to push that in to the eyes and give it a twiddle. And then I'm going to grab my needle again to try and just work a little bit of an indentation for them to sit in. So just create a little bit of a socket, I guess. Right, once you've got your sockets and you're happy, give them another poke. And then we're going to grab our eyes and you can just push those in to the holes that you've made. You might find that you need to make them a bit deeper, in which case you just grab your owl again and push that in. Again, giving it a little bit of a twizzle. Push your eye in. Make sure you're happy with the sizing of your eyes. I'm quite happy with those. The one thing I would do is push that back a bit. So to secure your eyes, you're going to need to take them back out. And then we're just going to grab a little bit of super glue. I'm going to move my mat out of the way. Right, so you've got your super glue, your eye. I'm just doing it over a little bit of tissue. Put a tiny drop on there. And then, oops, try not to get it on your fingers. And just push that in to where you want it to sit. Then grab your other eye, pop a little bit on the end, and then push that into where you want it to sit. Push it in firmly. Pop the glue out the way, pop the lid on that. Right. You can just tweak your felt in to sit round your eyes, or you want to indent the sockets round them a bit, you can just do that with your needles. So there you go. Now you've finished your face, you've got two eyes, they're nicely secured, you've got your mouth and your nose. Next up, we're going to move on to our feet. For this, we're going to grab a little bit of the darker pink. I'm just going to sort of twirl this round in my fingers, and then you might even want to just wet it slightly. And then I'm just going to wrap this, or secure a bit first, the end. And then wrap that round. and then we're just going to felt that on. Try and make sure it's even-ish. And just have a look, I'm quite happy with that. It's a little bit of a patch there, so if you need to grab a little bit more, you can, and just felt those over those patches where you can just sort of see the light pink peeking through. Okay, and then we've got one of the hooves on, or the horseshoes. Right, same again, and you're just going to repeat that for all 4. And there you go, you've got all 4 hooves, horseshoes, whatever, on your pony, and this will now stand up fine on its own. You might need to tweak where its legs sit to balance it properly, but this will now stand up. So the finishing touches that we've got to do is we've just got to add our tail and mane. We need to go back to the wool. I mean, I've already got some that I had previously curled, but if you remember at the start of this, I showed you how to curl your wool to make it like this. This literally took about an hour, 2 max, to dry naturally in the air. Obviously, that's going to depend on the temperature and the climate where you're living. But to get this off, all you're going to do is just push this gently along the stick. You might need to give it a little move, help it along a little bit, and then push that off. And there you go. It's that simple to create your little wool curls. So I'm going to start with the tail. I'm going to decide whereabouts I want it positioned. I'm going to grab my courser needle, and I think about there. That looks about the middle. So create an indentation. And then you're going to grab your scissors and your curls. I've got some shorter ones here, but they're too long. Okay, right, so I'm just going to cut mine down to size because I haven't got any that I'm happy to start with. So work out about how long you want it to be. And then you can double it up like that. Chop off there. And then your middle point, you can just felt that in to that hole. All you're doing is just securing that in. It's not going to take a lot. I'm going to do the same with my light pink. And that's about there. And then I'm going to push that in to the same middle point. They were. If you feel like one's sort of jumping up a bit more than you like, you can just felt that round slightly to move it. And you're just going to keep building that up. They don't all have to be the same length because obviously they wouldn't. So I might trim that one there because then I can use that bit for the mane. And then pop that in the middle. I'm going to do a single one in the middle to finish it off of the two darker pinks, felting those in. And there you have your tail. Obviously, you can add as many as you want. That is absolutely up to you, and you can choose the colour combinations that you would like, but I'm quite happy with that. So now I'm on to the mane. And what I might do is I might see how much I've got left, and I might add some more in to make that a little bit more bushy at the end. For the mane, you just want to work out sort of where you want your middle point to be, which is about there. And I'm just going to create a rough little line guide for myself. Not sure if you can see that. These don't need to be as long, so I'm just gonna figure out what sort of size I want those. That's probably okay. Trim that off. Same process, use your needle in the middle point of the curl and the middle point of the horse's head. And then gently felt that into place. Once you're happy with that, we can grab some light pink, that underneath. Again, felting that, holding them into the position like either side. And just securing those. Into place, and I'm just going to alternate dark pink, light pink all the way down. I might add at the end that last light pink one at the top. I'll see. Just make sure you're checking it from both sides to make sure you're happy with the positioning. And there you've got your mane. That's all nicely secured in. You can add some more or not if you want. I've got some left over, so I'm just going to add a little bit more to my tail to make that a bit fuller. And that's it. You've finished it. You've made your needle felted pink pony. This will stand up on its own now. I'm really happy with them. I think they've turned out really well. They've got nice, happy little faces. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you did, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and hit the like button. And if you want to see more like this, hit subscribe. I think I might make a few little accessories to go with this over the next couple of weeks. So make sure you stay tuned. Pop in the comments as well and let me know what you think, if it was easy to understand, and well, anything that you've got to say, really. Thank you.